Doesn't seem to be. Okay.
What?
Yeah, hit live and let's see what happens.
Yep, we're live.
Okay.
We're live.
Hasn't come up yet on YouTube if I'm on the right link.
There should be only the one now.
Okay, it's coming. Yes, we're there.
Brilliant, fantastic. Right, oh yeah, 5 viewers. Brilliant. Okay, so here we go. Hi there, everyone. So it's the final day of the week, as I'm sure you're aware. And yeah, we're on now day 9, I think, of this course. Yes. So yeah, time is marching on. So Nick and I are here today, just really to see if you've got any questions, remind you of where you should be at, and give you a bit of a heads up for what's happening next week. So I don't know, Nick, if there's anything come through, anyone got any burning questions that they've pinged straight in?
Not yet. We've got some mornings, greetings, and someone's
Good.
very happy it's Friday.
Yes, thank God it's Friday. Yes.
That's exactly the words.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, yeah. As TGIF.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And as always, we'd like to see some pictures. So, we had a real difficulty getting pictures out of them yesterday, Nick, Sarah, and I. And we said we weren't going to sign off until we'd seen a picture. And I thought, oh gosh, how long are we going to have to sit here until we get a picture? And luckily, then a few nice ones popped in. So don't be shy. We'd like seeing your pictures.
We've had one come through on Twitter already.
Oh, really?
Yeah, another TGIF. I can imagine that the weekend must be quite an exciting proposition when you've been working so hard during the week.
There's one of me on a laptop screen there with someone's mug. Yeah.
Us on the other hand, we spend our Saturday marking.
Yeah.
We're not so happy it's Friday because this weekend we don't get much of one.
This is it. You see, living and learning on the web, all the days are the same. You're never offline. There's always something to do. Okay.
Saturday,
right. Say again, didn't catch that.
I was just saying Saturday, it's just another day of the week.
Indeed it is. Right, so any questions coming through?
No questions as yet. Nope. Send any questions, guys, if you've got any, or any comments or queries. Good chance to get them in now.
Yeah, so where we should actually be as far as timing is concerned, this is the last day of topic 2. So you should have been working on your reflections, ready to post by end of today, topic 2 reflections. And then, as Nick said, we'll get marking those over the weekend, come back on Monday, and you're straight into the final topic 3. So yeah, it's all going very quickly. I keep saying this, I know, but I don't want anyone to have any nasty surprises. If you think that you're all up straight and you've got loads of spare time and you've got the weekend coming up, then don't forget your own digital profiles and building your own professional presence, and how you need to reflect on that for the other part of assessment at the end, after the end of this module. So if you haven't read the study guide and you haven't listened in the past when I keep going on about this, then now is your time to really make sure that you understand what you're doing with that, and at least start gathering some examples and evidence that you can use for that final post. It's really not the sort of thing you want to be cobbling together at the last minute, believe me. And as always, don't forget you can look at past examples from what people did last year and the year before to get some ideas about the sorts of ways you might like to approach it, of which there are many. There isn't one single best way, but creativity is good, and hopefully you'll find it useful beyond the module, as well as for actually part of your marks in this case. So that's kind of where we're at. Have we got anything? I see you typing there, Nick. Is there anything exciting happening?
No, none with Twitter or on the live chat so far.
Oh, this could be a very short session then. So yeah, I guess you're all looking forward to the weekend. Anyway, what can we say about a few words about topic 3, perhaps.
Well, just before we do that,
okay.
I was just going to say some of the people who have contributed comments to the MOOC, which is a smallish percentage of you guys, but nevertheless, the comments that have been contributed have been very good, and generally sort of well written and well considered, thoughtful, and interesting. So well done to those of you who've been getting involved with the MOOC as well. I've been pleased to see that. It'd be nice to see more of you get involved in that way. There are lots of really good mentors and other students on the course at this point who, if you are able to sort of phrase things in such a way that encourages replies, and with this is one of the things we've been pushing you on with your comments. So when you comment on your classmates' blogs, one of the reasons we have this idea about questioning and challenging is because that's a way to make it easier for the original poster to reply to you, and for a discussion to continue. Same thing applies on the forum. It's exactly where that's one of the skills that we're helping you to develop. So if you're on the MOOC and you've got some interesting ideas, some things have come to your mind, or some questions, put them out there in the comments section and see if some of the mentors or some of the other course mates from around the world will come in and engage in that discussion with you. That can then help to inform the ideas you talk about in your module blog as well. So, but good work for those who have been getting involved on that, and thank you for that. It's appreciated.
Yeah, and you can always pop links to your own blog within the comments, preferably backed up with a good reason. So not just by saying something like, here's my blog, have a look at it. But if you've discussed something in one of your posts that you think is relevant and adds value to a discussion that's going on the MOOC, then by all means dive in, contribute, and give a link to your post. And that would be a really good thing to do, and is sure to prompt some kind of response, and possibly people looking around your blog at other things as well. So we'd very much encourage you to do that, as Nick says. And it can certainly add value to your reflection posts that you're working on today, if you're thinking not just about what you've learned from your colleagues, but from the wider community as well. And putting in links to particular discussions or mentioning particular people that you've engaged with on the MOOC is good evidence of depth of thinking. Okay.
Yes, was it yesterday? You may have discussed it in yesterday's live session, but one of our students' blogs seems to have been featured on a news blog. Let me see if I can come down and find where it was. Let me keep looking. If you're there, whoever it was. Yeah, here we go. It's Ava. Ava Yo got featured on a blog called paper.li, I think. And she's got the hashtag, how did this happen? I'd like to know your opinion, Ava. How did it happen? What do you think? Why was your blog post picked up? And what does that tell us about connected learning and the value of the things that we've been doing? And this relates perfectly to what Lisa's been talking about with regards to the final reflection. That's exactly the sort of thing that you'd be able to talk about and say, you know, before this module, I had none of my stuff had ever been featured anywhere, and now I'm getting featured on these websites. So that's evidence of having built up your professional online identity and essentially having developed your personal learning network in a really good way.
Yeah, it would be interesting to hear if there's been any developments on that since yesterday as well, whether it's led to sort of further discussions or further useful contacts. So yeah, that's great. Actually, we had an example last year, didn't we, Nick? I think it was one of your people who, in a photography case, where she actually got a job based on the photos she displayed on her blog, didn't she, to cover an event?
Yeah, she got a great job. She was covering the Korean Film Festival And I think she was not just photographing it, I think she was actually filming it as well. And that was a direct result of her having a really good professional looking blog that she developed as part of this module. And she was very delighted and somewhat surprised, but nevertheless delighted that this has suddenly turned into such a great opportunity for her.
Yeah. So yes, so you never know what connections, what will come as a result of connections. It's not always immediate, but you can make your own luck with these things. And it's always a good idea to throw yourself in, be helpful to others, and at some point, the favour is sure to be returned in some shape or form. Perhaps not in the way you expected, but in some way. So we definitely encourage you to do that. I also noticed, Nick, as well, I forgot to mention this to you, at least one of the students, one of you guys from Singapore, has done your network map on the MOOC, and they included a snapshot of it in their blog post. So
that's great.
At least one more for you there.
Yeah, that's great. I'd love to know how many people have actually done that and whether they found that informative. It'd be really nice to get some feedback on that. Were you surprised by your network and what it looks like and how you use it? Was there anything interesting there? And how similar or different is it to other people who are like you? Filter the combined network map to be able to see that. I'd really like some feedback on that, actually. It'd just be nice for me to know whether you found that a useful visualization of your learning network, and whether it helped you to understand some of the ideas around these learning networks and connected learning, whether it helped you to understand these connections a bit better. Yeah, so give me some feedback on that. I'd love to know.
Okay. How are we doing with questions? I saw you typing away.
No, absolutely nothing. I was typing today, very quiet. Is everyone aware?
Well, according to my viewer counter here, there are 36 of you watching.
Yeah, I see that too, but there's no one typing. I guess it's Friday afternoon feeling.
Yeah, perhaps we could ask for some smileys just to make sure that we're making sense and you're all clear about where you're going. It'd be nice to see some.
Yeah, we've had one smiley.
And one smiley, only one.
Only one smiley.
There's 60 of you.
No,
I'm just having a look at Twitter again.
They're coming on now.
Good.
It's nice to know you guys are there.
I'm just looking at Twitter. There's nothing else new on Twitter, but there's certainly lots. If you do a search for the Mange 2049 hashtag, there are lots of tweets there now from the course as a whole. It'll be trending in Singapore before long.
Now, I wonder if it's worth mentioning, because I manage my Twitter through something called TweetDeck, which I know you use as well.
Mm.
So I've got the Mange 2049 hashtag as a column, and everything scrolls into that column, and it's very easy for me to keep track of what's appearing on that. I don't know if any of you guys over in Singapore use TweetDeck, but it's very, very useful for managing Twitter. I'm just typing it into the window now. So I strongly recommend to people, if you find Twitter, I personally find Twitter a little hard to keep on top of, because I follow quite a lot of people, and the number of tweets that come in mean that things scroll on past me before I have a chance to check them, because I'm not checking it every 5 minutes. So I do miss things, and then I have to sit down and spend quite a while going through all the things that have come in over the last sort of half a day or a day, which I find a little bit tedious sometimes. So the TweetDeck kind of cuts that all out for me, and everything from the most important of my hashtags that I'm keenest to follow goes into these nice clear columns, and I can really quickly look through and see what's happened over the last however long, without wading through all this stuff that I'm kind of a bit less interested in. So yeah, let me know if anyone uses that and what your opinion of it is. But I think it's pretty good, and I think you do too, don't you, Lisa?
Oh yeah, I think it's invaluable. I've actually got about 14 columns on my TweetDeck at the moment, which is a bit sad. But yeah, it's specifically for things I want to keep an eye on. So it might be events that people are tweeting about. It might be modules. Obviously, things that are directed straight to me. I've got a column of those, so I don't miss those. But yeah, whatever it is you want to keep on top of, putting us specific column for it on TweetDeck is a really good idea. I've actually been pleasantly surprised by how many of you guys are active Twitter users already. I think it's significantly more this year than last year from Singapore. And not just that there's more of you, but that you're better at it. It's very easy to send bad tweets, meaning, and by bad tweets, I don't mean bad's probably the wrong word, but just kind of random tweets. A lot of people use Twitter quite randomly. But I've been really impressed by some of you guys who are actually using it in a very professional way. You're making good use of the hashtags, you're making good use of links, you're putting in a call to action so that people, instead of just saying, read my blog, you're saying a little bit about why people will get some value out of reading your blog. And generally being very, very professional, really, in terms of how you use Twitter and making it work for you. So that's really good to see. I think more so than the UK students. I think your group of students are the best I've seen so far as Twitter users as a whole. I don't know if you would agree with that, Nick.
Yeah, I think so. The hashtag's been more active with more useful things, perhaps, than it has previously. Maybe it's because we've got a group of marketeers, and obviously Twitter has become such a key tool in any kind of marketing mix. That maybe our students are very familiar with it. I mean, I'm just guessing at that, so type in your comments if I'm way off the mark, but that might be an explanation, perhaps.
Okay, great. Right, how are we doing on the question front? Anything coming through?
Interesting coming from Jerome, who's used TweetDeck before, but he think it got closed down for a while in 2013. But that was a good few years ago now, and I can guarantee it's up and running because I'm looking at it right now. It seems to be functioning perfectly well again. No one else has replied on TweetDeck though, so I suspect that's not something people are using very much. So have an explore of it if you want, guys. It's useful.
I don't think you can get it on the mobile. I'm not sure if there's a TweetDeck app.
Okay. Yeah, I use it on the laptop, I have to say. It's useful on the laptop.
Yeah, I mean, the functionality with columns doesn't really fit the mobile environment very well, but so I don't think there is an app. But I find Twitter on my phone quite limited in the functions that it offers. So I tend to, if I really want to make effective use of Twitter, use my laptop and just the phone for sort of the occasional sort of checking and quick replies. But yeah, so I think the whole TweetDeck experience on a laptop is best if you want to make a sort of concerted effort at tweeting.
This brings us back to
haven't found anything for it yet.
Sorry, Lisa. This brings us back to our personal learning networks, doesn't it? How we have preferred devices for preferred activities, and do we all have a pattern in that? And is that pattern determined by the technology, i.e. in this case TweetDeck works in columns and columns don't work well on mobiles, or is it determined by us, the user, because maybe the actual tweet sort of information itself is quite small on a mobile, it's bigger on a laptop? Are we making those choices consciously or subconsciously, personally driven or technology driven? All these things are sort of interesting to think about in how you choose to construct your learning network. And whether you have similarities to others or differences. So in this case, Lisa and I have a similarity. We both use TweetDeck on the laptop. That's probably governed by the technical limitations of TweetDeck, but maybe not. It's worth investigating. So some interesting things to think about there. Excuse me.
Oh dear. Oh dear, I should give up that smoking,
Smoking, what's that?
never known to indulge, I'm sure.
Ugh, shocking habit.
Yes, hope none of you guys do it. We don't want to see any pictures of you smoking at the weekend. It's a very bad habit.
I'm in no position to complain about that one. Young people are sensible now. They don't smoke. My generation didn't have the education around it that the younger generations have now.
Okay, well, actually, it would, I suppose, be interesting to know what attitudes towards smoking in Singapore are like. So yeah, it might be similar, it might be very different. But yeah, any comments? Welcome.
I wonder if you're allowed to smoke out, walking around the streets of Singapore. I wonder if there's any rules and regulations around that. Be interesting to know. So send us a little message about that. Can you smoke in your own home but not outside on the streets, or the other way around? Or I presume there's no smoking inside buildings, like we have in the UK. That'd be interesting to know.
Yeah, I can remember a very, very long time ago when I first went to London, there were still smoking carriages on the tube. And so when the train came into a station and the doors opened, you could barely see across the carriage because it would just be full of smoke. It was absolutely disgusting, revolting. Yeah, and then thankfully that was banned, and increasingly since then it's been banned in various places, and yeah, and vast improvement to the environment as a result. But anyway, we're getting massively off topic here. So you guys are all very quiet this morning, this afternoon even. So, if we haven't got any burning issues from you and you're all clear about what you're doing, we will probably leave you to it. Looks like you're typing there, Nick.
Yeah, so we've had some people saying that they enjoy smoke, others saying that actually real men don't smoke, real men fight cancer, which is a great phrase. I wonder if that's a common phrase in Singapore because it's come up from a couple of people. And so, yeah, I'm just making it clear that I'm not advocating smoking. It's a terrible thing to do. Nevertheless, I do it. And it's stupid, put bluntly.
So there's a great saying here in the UK, which is, do as I say, not as I do. So.
Yeah, quite. And I know it's very hard to stop. And it's one of the very few things in my life I regret ever having started. Pretty much nothing else in my life I regret. But starting smoking is one. It's proven extremely difficult to stop over the years, but still, part of me really enjoys it, part of me hates it. It's a funny old relationship. Yeah, apart from that though, we haven't got any questions directly concerning the module or any of the topics. I guess everyone's probably well into their topic 2 at the moment. I'm sure you're keen to get back to finishing that off so we can probably end up here.
Yeah.
Amaz has put a nice little comment up saying, I wonder if there should be a topic on substance abuse in this module. Well, you see, online addiction. You see, if we're actually talking about addiction, which is really what we're talking about, or addictive behaviors or addictive patterns of living your life, I wonder how many people would say that they were addicted to their smartphones, to the internet, to their social media apps. I mean, actually addicted, such that you suffer withdrawal, FOMO, the fear of missing out, and various other symptoms. There's that famous bit of research they did in the UK where they got an entire secondary school, there's about 1,000 odd students, to try to give up their phones for a week. And about 80% of them didn't make a day. And the only people that actually made the whole week were those groups of friends who all of them stayed off. In other groups of friends, as soon as one person broke and went back onto social media, quite quickly all their immediate friendship group went back on as well. But if the entire group of friends stayed off, they managed to stay off for the whole week, but it was a tiny percentage. I think it was something like 5 or 6%. I don't remember the number exactly. It was something like only 5 or 6% were actually able to go the whole week without touching their mobile phones. How many of you out there reckon you could do a week without using any piece of technology or without going on the web?
Interesting question. Yeah, and if you Google the expression digital detox, perhaps you could stick that in the chat room, Nick. Digital detox, you'll find there's all sorts of official programs you can go on now to wean yourself off your habit, or put you onto a different path. And also, increasingly, you see cafes in the UK will advertise that they don't have Wi-Fi, and they make a virtue of this. They say things like, there'll be a notice on the counter saying, no Wi-Fi, talk to each other. So there's a bit of a backlash going on at the moment, which is quite interesting.
Yeah, they get really confusing, those signs, because sometimes there's Wi-Fi free, and what they mean by that is no Wi-Fi. But I often get confused and think it means that they're giving me free Wi-Fi, and that's a great place to go. They need to rephrase their signs a bit better than that, and say a no Wi-Fi zone rather than a Wi-Fi free zone. There is a clear movement away from that in some courses. So Nicholas says that they managed to. He did it while he was doing his field camp in the army for a week. Yeah, I guess that's fair enough. You probably you clearly didn't have a choice on that matter. But would you do it? Could you do it if you were still living your normal life? It's different a bit when you go on holiday or when you go into something like an army camp or field camp, because you're in a different environment, and so your habits are easier to change, if you like. I wonder if you're in exactly your normal environment, going about your normal daily life. Could you do that without your phones or without the internet? Interesting.
Okay, well, we should be a little bit careful we don't stop anybody communicating with us or doing their module work because they've gone on a digital detox. I don't think it actually counts as mitigation for not doing your work.
Sorry, professors, I was late with my work, but I was on a digital detox while doing an online course. Not going to work, that one. I actually don't advocate digital detox at all. I think the odd day wandering around the beautiful hills and mountains of southwest England, fine, but I can't see the point of detoxing for a whole week.
Okay, right. Any final comments or questions?
No, nothing in there. Nope, nothing there.
Right. Well, I guess we should sign off then. I will post up the excuse me, I'll post up the topic 3 info later today. So just in case any of you want to get ahead and you've got a loose end over the weekend, you can see what's coming up for Monday. And we look forward to reading and feeding back to you over the weekends on your topic 2s. I'm just going to have a final check and see if any more pictures have come through.
There's a very disturbing looking one of me from Sean.
Oh yes, that's very close up, isn't it? With an eye. Ooh.
It's not as bad as it could be. Often when I'm caught in conversation, my face looks absolutely ridiculous. This one actually doesn't look as bad as it could do. So, thank you for catching a reasonably decent moment, Sean.
You obviously haven't looked at the stills on YouTube, Nick, which some of them are very unfair. You can change them.
That's exactly the sort of thing I'm talking about. Normally when I get caught sort of mid-frame like that, it's not the most flattering of looks.
I think there was one, it was near the start of the course where you just stood up and literally the freeze frame on YouTube showed you sort of just half disappearing out of shot.
That's all right, as long as my face isn't in it.
Right, we're wittering. We should stop.
Yeah, right. Coming in. Okay, guys.
Okay, have a great weekend and we will speak to you again on Monday.
Yep, see you on Monday, folks.
Okay, bye.